In this tutorial, we will discuss the operations decisions related to your business that you will have to make in Quarter 1. If you have not yet watched the tutorial on Quarter 1 decisions related to marketing, I would recommend that you start there. There are two operating decision panels that we want to focus on. You can see the first one that says Operating Decisions on your screen. One deals with materials, production workers, units produced, or subcontracted. The other panel, which I'll display now, focuses on the physical plant where you manufacture your product. In this tutorial, we will start with the Operations Decisions panel. To know what decisions to enter on this panel, we need the information provided on the warehouse operations and workforce and plant reports, so I will open those two now. At this point, I have opened up the workforce and plant report and the warehouse operations report and repositioned them so I can see the relevant parts I am most concerned with at the same time as I can see the Operating Decisions panel. As we look at the operating decisions that we have to make for this quarter, the top line shows materials ordered, 7,000 units for Product 1, 6,500 units for Product 2. There is a 1-quarter delay from when we order these materials until we receive them. So I want to ensure that we have sufficient raw materials available for the production process for next quarter, which would be Quarter 2, since we're now in Quarter 1. And in order to do that, I'm going to take a quick look at the raw materials report. That's one of the options underneath the Operations menu. We will use Product 1 as our example. You can see that we had a beginning inventory of 500 units. We received 7,000 units that were ordered in Quarter 0, so they arrived in Quarter 1. That gave us 7,500 units available for production this quarter. We used 6,000 in our production process, which was one of our operations decisions that we've made. That leaves us with 1,500 units, and with our planned order of 7,000 units for this quarter that will be received for next quarter, we will have 8,500 units available for the production process in Quarter 2. Take note that there is a chance that not all of your raw material order will be received. So another decision that we will have to make with regard to our order of raw materials is how much inventory we want to carry in order to allow for any shortages of raw materials that we may receive. We want to ensure that we have sufficient units available for production in the following quarter. I feel comfortable with the 8,500 units of raw material for Product 1 that will be available for production next quarter. So at this point, I'm going to close the raw materials report and go back to my Operations Decisions panel. And I'm going to leave the raw material orders as is. 7,000 for Product 1, 6,500 for Product 2. The next set of decisions I need to make deals with my production workers. The workforce and plant report shows that I have 45 workers at the beginning of the quarter. At this point, I have not chosen to fire anyone or lay off anyone. I lost 4 workers to turnover. The normal turnover rate is 10%. There is a chance you may lose more than that, but 10% is the typical. So given that expectation, I've chosen to hire 4 workers that will be training in this quarter and ready to take part in the production process next quarter. The last decision I need to make with regards to my workers is how much I am going to spend on training programs. These programs involve training for all production workers, not just those that are being hired this quarter. How much I spend on training will affect worker productivity. Right now, my worker productivity is 250 units for Product 1 and 300 for Product 2. A worker can produce either Product 1 or Product 2, not both in the same quarter. If I choose to spend no money or very little money on training, worker productivity will decrease. How much I need to spend in order to keep worker productivity consistent or increasing is something I will have to determine with experience. The last set of decisions on the Operating Decisions panel deal with the manufacturing of finished goods and making them available for this quarter in order to meet the marketing demand that we have generated. We have two options. One is to produce products ourselves, and the other is to subcontract. At this point, we have entered a decision to produce 6,000 units of Product 1 and 5,100 units of Product 2. Units produced this quarter are available for sale this quarter. As you can see in the finished goods report, the forecast that we have entered on our Marketing Decisions panel shows as units sold when we are in a forecast quarter. That is, it assumes that we are going to be accurate in our forecast sales. There is no guarantee of this. To produce 6,000 units of Product 1 with a worker productivity of 250 units, I will need 24 workers. To produce 5,100 units of Product 2 with a worker productivity of 300 units, I will need an additional 17 workers. 24 and 17 total 41, which is the number of workers I have available. So, if I produce more, it would be at an overtime rate. Overtime is expensive, so make sure that you monitor your workforce report in order to ensure that you do not unintentionally produce at an overtime rate. If I wanted to make more units available for sale, the other option then would be to subcontract. Just like units you produce, units subcontracted are available for sale in the same quarter that you put in an order for them. So, for example, I'm going to enter a decision to subcontract 500 units of Product 2. And you can see in the finished goods report, those 500 units are available for sale, and I now have an ending inventory of 1,000 units of Product 2. You can see the current cost of subcontracting by selecting the Materials and Inventory Costs report from underneath the Operations menu. And it shows that at this point, it cost me $46 per unit to have those 500 units subcontracted. The $46 per unit does not include investment on quality we made on that product. At this point, I'm going to leave the decisions I have entered for the operations decisions, close that report, and move to the plant decisions that we have to make. The plant decisions that we have to make are those for the physical facility where we conduct our manufacturing. At this point, I am not going to make any decisions on that because I think we have sufficient levels of production volume to be able to meet the demand, and so there is no need to add capacity. We also have the option of selling plant capacity if we choose to. I do not want to make a decision on that this early in the simulation because I'm not yet certain about how demand is going to flow in future quarters. However, let me point out that when you build plant capacity, it takes 2 quarters before it becomes available for production use. In the example shown on your monitor, I have entered a decision to build 1,000 additional units of plant capacity. Those 1,000 units also show as capacity ordered on your plant report. The plant report also shows the total current capacity that you have available for production. Capacity under construction shows the units of capacity that you've ordered in a previous quarter that are under construction this quarter and that will be available for production next quarter. The other decision that you have to make with regard to plant decisions is plant maintenance. This is money that you will choose to spend on maintenance on your plant and equipment. The maintenance decision is tied to the training decision that you made on the Operating Decisions panel. That is, how much you spend on maintenance will affect worker productivity. If you spend little to no money on maintenance, productivity will decrease. How much you have to spend, just like training, is unknown, and you will have to determine that with experience. The other point that is important for you to note is that spending money on training without spending money on maintenance will have a lessening impact of training on worker productivity. And, in the same context, spending money on maintenance without spending money on training will lessen the impact of those dollars invested. It does no good to have fully trained workers with poor equipment, or good equipment and poorly trained workers if you want to maintain worker productivity. Before I finish with my operating decisions, I want to do a quick check to see how well I have controlled costs with the decisions I have made. I can do that by looking at the cost of goods sold report. And you see that my total manufacturing cost this quarter on a per unit basis was $40.79. But when compared to my quarter zero cost of $38.56, my manufacturing costs per unit this quarter have gone up. So, I have introduced some inefficiency into my production process somewhere, and I need to go back and think about where that might be. One of the things that you should focus on throughout this simulation is how to manufacture at the minimal cost possible. If you do not control your manufacturing cost, you will have a difficult time being able to price at a competitive level to where you can get the sales volume that you need in order to be profitable. So, you want to strive to be as efficient as you can in terms of your use of labor, your use of raw material, and your use of plant. Those are the three components that go into your manufacturing cost. And you can see the detailed listing of the manufacturing cost at the top part of the cost of goods sold report. I'm not going to spend time on the detail of that now. That is not part of this tutorial. We have completed entering our marketing and operations decisions, and we now want to look and see how well we have done financially with those decisions. If you have not yet viewed the tutorial for making your marketing decisions for Q1, you should do that next, and then watch the tutorial on making your finance decisions for Q1.